Welcome to episode 198 of Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. On today's episode, we talk a little bit about the Connor Wegman injury, some interesting news surrounding Clemson leaving the ACC, and of course, we preview Week 5 with a very special guest, Wes Blankenship. You can find this show on our website, SaturdayDownSouth.com, and Apple and Spotify. Don't forget to join us for the live recording of the show every Sunday at 8 Eastern Time on the Saturday Down South YouTube page. Please go share the show with your friends, if at all possible. Send it to 20 friends. I don't know, Chris, 15? Is that more reasonable?
69.
69 of your friends. We're looking to expand the pod. Find clips from the show on Twitter at SatDownSouth and at SatFB Uncensored, on Instagram and TikTok at Saturday Down South. You can find us on YouTube. Chris, where?
YouTube.
Saturday Down South.
That's right.
And now, here's the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Football Uncensored, brought to you by Saturday Down South and Texas Pete. I'm your host, Tyler Huck, and with me, as always, Chris Marler. Chris, not as big of a week as week 4, but still a pretty big week, week 5.
Yeah, there's some depth to this one. There's not as many marquee matchups. So let's also talk about the fact that, one of the marquee matchups last week was Colorado, Oregon. That was a huge dud.
Yeah.
So I think there's, still a lot of storylines. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So before we get into the slate this week, did you see this whole thing about the CFP and this new format that's being rumored now?
The CFP?
Yeah, college football playoff.
Yeah. So I don't get it because so Heather Dinich broke this morning and was saying that they're leaning towards a 5+7 format, which means it'd be 5 automatic bids, and then it'd be the 7 highest ranked teams after that. Now, if it's the 5 automatic bids, the one reason why it's stupid is because there's not 5 there's not 5 conferences. So I'm reading it now. It says in the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, SEC, and the highest ranked Group of 5 team would automatically get a bid. Then the next 7 highest ranked teams would make the 12-team playoff. It was originally expected to be a 6-6, but the demise of the Pac-12 has resulted in people changing their minds. Real quick, did you see that Washington State and Oregon State and the Bloods and Crips Unite thing they did before the game?
Stupid.
It was really stupid. It was really stupid and embarrassing.
It was like watching the Mighty Ducks or something like that.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse. Because Iceland, they weren't teaming up with Iceland.
That's true.
Even though Gunnar Saul just for whatever reason was in the next movie as the goalie for the varsity team, but at Eden Hall. We're not going to talk about that though.
I'm sure that Washington State has a guy named Gunnar on the team. Has to, right?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. How many? Hold on, real quick. How many? Let's just do Power 5 only. How many Power 5 teams, off the top of your head, do you think would have a guy named Gunnar? I think Iowa, for sure.
All the Michigan teams: Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Michigan State.
Gunnar Cracktall.
Penn State seems like a Gunnar school.
Mm-hmm.
Liberty.
NC State. NC State seems like a big Gunnar school.
Mm-hmm. Texas,
yeah, but it's like a backup quarterback, so it's not as cool.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it just makes sense.
That's what she was
the meme of the guy with his head down with the gun up. You remember Texas Tech when they're losing by 60?
Yeah. Hold on. Wes Blankenship just sent me a text. I'm gonna send you a link at 9:30. This is good radio. Anyway, no. So the format or the playoff model format is interesting, I guess. I don't think it's that different than what we thought. I am a little bit surprised that the model is so. I mean, I guess it's not that different than what they were going to do. If it's a 6-6, it was going to be, what do you call it? The 5 Power 5 teams or school or conferences, sorry, and then the automatic berth from the group of 5 schools. So it's not different, I guess.
Yeah, it's just the 4 conferences plus maybe an automatic bid for highest ranked G5.
Yeah.
And then this next 7 ranked after that.
Yes. I mean, so honestly, if you're looking at like the Big Ten, because a lot of these two you're going to go away, you're going to do away um with the divisions, right? Like next year the
Yeah.
SEC and the Big Ten. It'll be interesting to see how many of these teams are ranked and how much are they going to try to go from around the country? Because like, dude, you look at it right now. I mean, go through the top 25 right now. Number one is who? Like if it was today, and just say that whoever the highest from the SEC and Power Five teams won their conference. So it'd be Georgia would be an automatic. Then it would be who? And also
Michigan,
does Notre Dame count as a group? Like it doesn't count as a group of five. Like what are they? What are we doing with that?
highest ranked team.
I guess right.
Yeah, I guess they don't have a chance for an automatic bid. Well, join a conference. How about that?
Yeah, but like that they're going to somehow sneak them in.
They'll be in the Big Ten at some point. I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
inevitable.
sure. Yeah. But no, so
So
it'd
what?
be
It'd be
Georgia, it'd be
Georgia,
Michigan,
Michigan, Florida State, maybe.
Texas. Well, yeah, you guys would be from the ACC, so
Yep.
that's 4. And then who's the fifth? Who's the highest who's the highest G5? We should know
Tulane.
this. No, I don't think they are anymore. Highest blah 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 is dude, Fresno State, and they're 25th. Isn't that weird?
Ugh.
All right, so that
Fresno
means that like
State.
after those people got in, it would be Ohio State, Penn State. We're trying to get 7 here, right? Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, USC, Oregon, Utah, Notre Dame. So you would essentially, if it ended today, the way this format would be set up, you would have
There'd only be one SEC team in.
that Texas would be count as the SEC technically.
Yeah.
Oh no, I guess you're right. Like so then but
That's
Penn
crazy.
State, Ohio State, Washington, USC, Oregon, and Utah. So you're talking about however you want to break it down. The Pac-12 or would have a minimum 4 teams in. It's kind of wild.
That is wild.
So
But those would count for the Big Ten and the Big 12, I guess, going forward. Yeah, crazy. I still think there's some movement. And speaking of that, maybe we go. It's a nice segue into the Clemson stuff.
yeah, we got graphics on graphics on graphics. Look at that. Look at that Dabo graphic I put up there just for
See
you.
later.
Now, do you get it?
See you like Clemson, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, yeah. It's a see
Oh,
you.
but they're
Anyway.
also potentially leaving the ACC. So see you.
So I got a text from one of my good buddies and one of our listeners. I'm not going to say his name on here because I don't know if we're allowed to or not, but he has been pretty spot on with most of the stuff that he's told me about.
Or she. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay. He's a they. So them has been really good about all of their information so far. And he's been he lives in South Carolina. But he's had his finger on the pulse of mostly everything that's South Carolina or Clemson related this past offseason, right? So he sends me something today, and it's like a story that kind of broke. And it's about the likelihood of Clemson. This is Sapakoff. I think his name is Gene Sapakoff. Yeah. This guy also, I forgot what it was, but he said something crazy stupid a couple years back. It was something like egregiously bad. It was like a Clemson take, like a pro Clemson take. Anyway, but he said Clemson's ACC departure may be sooner as Gamecocks fret. There are rumors that Clemson is going to leave the ACC, and they are going to be officially offered, them and North Carolina, be officially offered by the Big Ten. Now, I've been told what would most likely happen there is that if they get an official offer, that would become public, but they would not necessarily commit to that because they would wait to see if the SEC also makes an offer. The main thing is their departure, their announcement of intention to leave the ACC could come as early as next week.
Here's the thing where I would maybe poke a hole in that story is that I don't believe basically anyone that wanted to leave the ACC next year, or ahead of the football season next year, had to announce that before August. So you could still announce it, but I don't think you could go public with an offer because then that's tampering.
Right. But it's going to be announced.
Well, it'll be announced that they want to leave, but I'm talking about making an official offer publicly from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I don't think that could happen. As I
Okay.
understand it. I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
But that's not the only person that's saying it. Now, Twitter can become an echo chamber, but
No, not Twitter.
there's a guy out there who admittedly has been wrong before about Clemson leaving the ACC. About 2 years ago, Mark Ryan, who
Yeah.
is a guy up in, what is it, Greenville, South Carolina?
Goldville, Greenville, who gives a shit?
Yeah, the upstate.
Yes.
He works for the upstate, South Carolina. He tweeted today, "Stay very tuned," quote unquote. A Clemson senior administrator said when asked how soon a Clemson ACC departure could be announced, quote, "Sooner than later. Will it be the Big Ten or the SEC for Clemson? They did it. Clemson found a way out of the grant of rights."
I mean, we'll see.
So we will see. It's just always rumors, man, until it happens. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Last but not least, before we get into the actual games, bad news.
Yeah.
Bad.
Bad.
I don't even want to say because it makes you feel bad now. Connor
How
Wegman.
ironic that Jimbo.
Bad. Real bad.
Yeah. Connor Wegman. And this hurts doubly as bad because I just realized this week that his name is spelled with an E, not 2 O's, and I've been spelling it wrong in my quarterback rankings.
Tanur?
No, that's how most Connor spell. That's how Connor O'Gara spells
2
his.
O's? Oh,
Yeah.
like
Connor.
O.
Connor with it, not Connor.
I thought you meant with 2 O's at the end.
Connor.
That'll be weird.
I'm a bit of a connoisseur of Connor words. Okay, that's too much. I'm doing too much.
Yep.
No, so Connor Wegman is out for the year. He has a injury in his foot that they thought was gonna be 2 to 4 weeks, and they found out yesterday after, I guess, an MRI or something. Billy Lucci, our good friend of the pod, friend of us in real life, great dude, all over that Johnny Manziel doc. Fantastic hair, by the way. Broke the news yesterday that it's worse than they expected because it's a weight-bearing bone, and he is going to be out for the rest of the year. So kind of sucks because he's been playing really, really well. It's a guy that came in and was second in the conference. I'm sorry, in the country in QBR going into last weekend for the Auburn game. He's been really, really good. He's been like really, really good, and I felt like he's only going to get better in that offense. But we're not trying to. The sky isn't falling. I will say this, even as a Bama guy, the last time Alabama went to College Station with and faced a backup quarterback was Zach Calzada. The kid went off that night. So, I don't think the season's over. They got a really capable backup with Max Johnson, guy that spent some time over at LSU and actually played really well there and has played well on Saturday too against Auburn. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's tough news, man. I mean, Wegman was having a great year. He was one of the top QBs in the country, I think, in QBR. So obviously a big time. I mean, Max Johnson is good. He's got SEC experience, no doubt, but still a downgrade from Wegman. And that's tough news for A&M fans. All right, should we get into the slate here?
Let's do it. Where do you want to start?
Do we want to start there? A&M.
No, let's do like a quick. Let's do a quick other one real quick because I don't want to have to preview this game for too long without our special guests. I do not want to start there. We are not going to start at Mizzou and Vandy. Let's get into, how about this? Let's get into this one at the bottom.
Okay.
Mine. Okay. Mississippi State at Alabama. It is a 9 p.m. start, which is awful. Alabama comes in as a 14.5-point favorite. A little bit surprised on that. Trying to figure out what the over-unders. I want to say it was 56.5, which is kind of interesting as well.
46.5.
No, that's not right.
There's no way. Says.
It is. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, 46.5.
Holy sheesh. That's crazy. Okay. Well,
both teams run the ball a lot.
Yes.
Or probably will.
But last week, that is a very low number. Last week, Mississippi State on the road in South Carolina. You finally got a little bit of a glimpse. And I'll tell you what, I was in the camp of saying that I thought it was good for Zach Arnett to kind of come in and stick to his guns on who he wanted, or what he wanted to do is like establish an offensive identity And they did that. Like they had been running the football. You saw the game against Arizona where they still only had, I believe it was like 17 attempts or something like that. Even though it went to double overtime, they ran the football. And then you saw the game against LSU where they really, really struggled. And then they go up against a team like South Carolina, who has been horrible in the secondary and then horrible on the offensive line, but especially in the secondary. And you finally get a game out of your star that you've had for years. Will Rogers came in 30 of 48 for 487 yards. Now, surprisingly, he only had one touchdown, one interception. So that is kind of a shocking number to throw for almost 500 yards, only have one touchdown. But they were not able to run the ball. They had, I think this is for the full game. I saw from our guy, SEC Stat Cat, Greg Brooks, great dude. I've mentioned on here before. He noted that in the game against South Carolina, their running backs had a negative yards before contact. Like it's behind the line of scrimmage. They were getting hit at the point of contact, which is horrible. So I think the only key to success here, if you are Mississippi State, you're going to have to hope you can throw the football. I've said this stat 1,000 times. Mississippi State has scored one touchdown in 3 straight years against Alabama combined, and it was on the last play of the game last year. I was watching it with you at your house up in wherever, like Bumblefuck. It's like 3 hours away. But no, so like I think that this could be interesting. I think especially for the first half. And if you're Mississippi State, you want to hang around as long as you can and keep it close, because this is the first road start for Jalen Milroe in his career. He didn't have any last year. He came in on the road against Arkansas. Remember, he was 1 of 4 for 3 yards in that game, passing the ball. So on the road in Starkville, late at night, probably a raucous crowd. Cowbells will be ringing. What do you think about this game?
The low total makes me believe that Mississippi State's not really going to score very many points per usual. I think it could be. I think you could see a couple. I think this will go over because I think Bama will have some sort of like special teams or defensive touchdown. I really like the way they're playing defense. Mississippi State was very, very lackluster against LSU, a team who we found out maybe doesn't have the greatest defense, and they still really struggled. So I've got Bama 38, Mississippi State 13. I think Bama's going to put up some points. So that would be over the total. And I think they cover the 14.5. I think Bama is on a little bit of a mission here to prove that they're not totally out of it like everyone thinks they are.
What interests me most about this game is this, and before I give you my prediction, and that is, how does Jalen Milroe look on the road? And then as a team, how does Alabama look coming off a really, really big and needed win against Ole Miss? Because we saw this in the start of the year against Texas, and Tyler Booker comes out afterwards and saying how they weren't as focused as they needed to be during practice that week. And it's like, how are you not focused? How are you not focused for like what's arguably the biggest game on the schedule against Texas? And it's week 2. Like how is that not at the forefront of your mind all off season? Not only just for that week, but all off season. You come off a game where you finally piece some things together, especially in the second half, and look, at least for 30 minutes, a lot like some of the Bama teams of the past, right? Are they able to come back out there and stack weeks? Are they able to come back out there and put together a game where you leave Starkville and not only with a win, but like confident?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because here's the thing too. You're going to College Station next week. And I love how this potentially sets up for Alabama, because College Station is going to be a very tough environment. 3:30 CBS game. It's going to be hot as shit. It's going to be a very, very difficult environment. They're like, that's a big game for A&M if they want to achieve any of their goals, just like Alabama. So this is a good setup. You're going to a house of 60,000 people. So it's like half the size basically of Kyle Field. How do you handle everything on the road? How does the offensive line look like with pre-snap penalties and all that kind of stuff and the cowbells? A lot of really good, I think, can come out of this game. And I wonder if they leave Starkville with confidence and not just a win. I got Bama winning 28-10 though.
Okay. Still cover.
Yeah. Let's get into my favorite rivalry in all of college football. Not even just the SEC, but all of college football. And that is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Auburn and Georgia, 3:30 Eastern on Saturday. What are your initial thoughts on this? I think it's a 14.5 point line. It actually has come down for in favor of Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, I think Georgia kind of of course, the first 3 games really struggled, especially in the red zone scoring.
Yeah.
Maybe they're starting to figure that out a little bit with just figuring out their personnel. They went 6 for 6 inside the 20 last week against UAB. Still a little lackluster on offense, though. Had 3 turnovers in the game. I'm just trying to figure out what is Georgia, especially on offense. I think we always are going to know what they are on defense. You got Brock Bowers. Who else is like? Would you consider like a real star on that offense?
Carson Beck. I tell you what, Arian Smith can be because there was a lot of plays that I've seen this year where they had a couple mismatches in coverage where he was running basically just like either deep posts or go routes and like they would bring him into the slot. So when you would like roll your coverage over, it was like him on a safety, and he was like blowing by dudes, and it was awesome. Like, I mean, like, but I think they just missed a couple of those throws by like, 2-3 yards.
Yeah. I think Georgia's offense will show up in this game. I could also see in this game some sort of defensive touchdown from Georgia, like Peyton Thorne just getting laid out, much like Cade Klubnik last week. Auburn was awful throwing the ball against A&M.
Yeah.
I mean, Peyton Thorne had 44 passing yards, and he got benched he was sacked 5 times, and he got benched finally in the third quarter. And then Robbie Ashford proceeded to come in and complete 1 pass for 4 yards.
Yeah, the QBR must have been off the charts. I mean,
so
101,
Auburn's
baby.
a little banged up in the secondary. I don't know how Auburn scores much in this game. So I like Georgia 35-13.
I was asked this today on the radio, and they were like, does Auburn score? And I was like, I mean, I think the over-under on this one is 54, right? So it's like you would expect them to score. And then what's weird too is a bunch of models that have come out.
No, this game, this total came down a lot. It's 45.5.
Okay, maybe I just don't know how. Am I dyslexic? I just don't know how to read.
I
Because
think
that's 2 in a row that I've missed.
Yeah, you're bad at math, maybe.
I'm not bad at math. I'm not doing this to you tonight. Right. I'll get into some of the stuff that I think about later. We have a very special guest coming in. A man that really doesn't need an introduction. It depends on which personality he's going to come in here with for his introduction, though. One of my favorite people, not just... Wait, how do we get this out of here? Not just... And look at that smile. Just lighting up a room already.
Oh, no, he's muted.
Oh, no, we can't hear you.
I needed to unmute my mic. That was my personality, was that I needed to unmute my mic. What's up?
Wes Blankenship, man.
Are we really uncensored? Can I say whatever I want?
You're too good of a person to do that, so I don't know if I want to let you do that, but yeah, you can.
I mean, I can't.
I feel like you're going to say, God darn it.
I mean, no one can get canceled in here. I can say... I won't say what I was thinking.
Skip Bayless take about Dion?
My Skip Bayless take is that Skip Bayless is a complete sentence. It's just a verb and a noun.
That's pretty fair. Like this entire week of watching him still somehow be relevant, and then just it is like it's the most cringe content.
You're talking about me or Skip Bayless?
Skip Bayless, you're great. Your content's fantastic. That's actually, listen, I was gonna save this question for later, but I kind of want to just ask it right off the bat. And you create content, obviously, just like I do, but you just do it at a much better and funnier job of doing it. But if you had to like set up, because like you do the Matthew McConaughey thing, you obviously do the Coffee Town thing, which is hilarious. Even after like year 3 of doing it, it's still hilarious. One of my favorite things every week. But if you had to draw up like just dream scenarios for content for you the rest of the year, like Bama losing to Texas is like a good thing for content for you. Like what?
Yeah, it's so hard, man. First of all, thank you both for having me on, Tyler and Chris. It's an honor, man. I love and I admire y'all's consistency, because that's the hardest thing to do with any of this stuff. All this content is just being consistent and not being the same exact thing every week. But to answer your question, last fall, I did a thing that was kind of like a riff off of Weekend Update with like just kind of taking the newsy stuff and like turning it around and having a punchline.
Yeah.
If I could do that and people actually watched it, I would do that. That would be the only thing I did. But the problem is no one has any patience for anything anymore.
No.
So like if you want to do a joke, it might be a good joke. And I'm sure, a lot of my jokes were bad, but even if it was a good one, no one's sitting through like a 40-second video to get to a joke. So if I could do that in an ideal world and people would actually watch it,
Yeah.
I'd still do that, because I think that format is just so funny. It's so unexpected. You
Yeah.
get to pull in things that people don't see coming, and that's probably what I would do.
I like that.
How'd you get your start in this? Was it you liked comedy and jokes and happened to be into sports, or were you into sports first and then the comedy came later, or was it a mixture
Yeah.
of both?
Well, I mean, professionally, I got my start doing local news, and a lot of people don't even know that, which I guess is a good thing, but also a terrible thing. Like, I must have really sucked at local news, but I did local news. I was a sports anchor in Macon, right out of college, and then in Atlanta for a few years, and then they didn't renew my contract, but that was okay because COVID happened, and I had a little girl with my wife, and spent a lot of great time with her. So I'm kind of glad that happened the way that it did. We were able to move out to Athens. So that's how I truly got my start. But then having that little break, that pause, like that's what gave me the opportunity to do Coffee Town, was because I wanted to do impressions in the newsroom. I wanted to do like the SEC. Gosh, I feel like such a jerk. What are the I'm blanking on what the sketches are called.
SEC shorts.
Shorts, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I mean, that's a much bigger corporate entity, and they didn't want to take that chance, and I get that. But I had the desire to do that stuff even when I was doing local news, but I was just I just had to stay a little bit more straight-laced, I guess. But I never did anything, like I never wanted to sound like everybody else in local news. So that was kind of how that started. And yeah, I've always admired comedy. Like I love Sports Center growing up, but I think I watched as much David Letterman as I watched Sports Center. So just kind of like nature and nurture, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's cool.
I didn't realize this until this week because you posted something about Javon Bullard coming out of Baldwin County High School. I didn't realize that you were covering Baldwin County High School because like that is, I mean, there's nothing else there. Like,
yeah, man.
That's where I went to school in Milledgeville, and that like we used to have to do like runs. We call it the bridge run, where it's like you run down to some bridge and back. It was like 2 miles, and it was right next to Baldwin County High School.
Unique name they chose for that, the bridge run.
They did. Also, I mean, I wasn't going to bring this up, but like I was in really good shape at the time, and I won that bridge run every single time. It didn't translate to being able to play at any point in my career, but it was a lot of fun.
What were you running over? Lake Sinclair?
No, I wish that was. I mean, that would be way too far. I've been to Lake Sinclair in a minute. But no, I mean, like so you got like a start like in a small, I don't say a small town or whatever, but it's obviously Blossom and stuff like that. What's been some of like your the content part of it? You talk about like the weekend update and how that's like your favorite stuff, but you've done some like really, really fun stuff, right? Like you work with like Marty Smith and do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Like that's a little bit different that people might not know about besides Coffee Town.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I mostly do is I host a show 2 times a week for On3 for Georgia's site, Dogs HQ. And it's called The Georgia Show because it's the first podcast about Georgia football. Like no one has done a Georgia football podcast yet. So we just started calling it The Georgia Show. And that's what we're doing 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Sundays at 8:30 p.m. So anyone that's watching this and loves Georgia or just wants to get some information about Georgia, maybe your team's playing the Dogs that week, we are live just got off of that actually.
Yeah.
We're live every Wednesday and Sunday at 8:30 p.m. And I host that kind of. I'm not saying I am up to this caliber, but I'm like the Reese Davis of that show. I just kind of run point and like let our insiders, our recruiting insiders, our team beat reporters, just kind of set them up and let them run with the information that they want that they have, because nobody really is craving the information that I have. I could, just do a Larry Munson impersonation all night, but I think our numbers would probably not be that great.
I think there's like enough like boomers still like that, like boomer Georgia fans, because I run into them all the time. This is going to shock you, but like you mentioned, if we have any Georgia listeners, I amazingly have not run them all off, which has been against all
Yeah.
odds.
I'm kind of suspicious about you, Marler. You're giving the Dogs a lot of credit here lately.
They're good.
Yeah.
Well,
You're a
let's start
pro.
there. Just high level on Georgia. What are been your impressions thus far?
Yeah.
This season?
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be boring to y'all, but I think they're a team that replaced a quarterback and replaced an offensive coordinator. And as much as I just said, I just kind of run point on that show. I mean, the take that I had all summer was, I don't care how good you are. Anytime you replace a quarterback and an OC in the same season, it's going to be really hard to just blow the doors down.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what I expected. I still think they should be in the playoff by the end of the year. But right now, I'm not surprised that they're a little slow. And I think, Marler, you saw the Georgia fans all summer. They're feeling a little froggy. And I don't know. I don't really pay attention to it, but my
What's that
perception is that they've gotten a little bit quieter over the last few weeks. And I'm just right here. I'm just like, this is what I expected this team to be up until this point. They're on, still an upward trajectory. Now they're banged up. And yeah, insert your joke here about a
I'm not
Georgia
gonna say
guy
a word.
talking about injuries. But it's not just one guy. I mean, it is
Mhm.
across the defense. It is across the backfield. It's across the board on the O-line. I mean, it's everywhere in different groups. So that's kind of been the biggest surprise, I guess, if you can call it a surprise. People get hurt in football. But it's kind of what I thought could be happening. Now, I still expect them to get better, and I think Carson Beck is actually doing a lot better than a lot of Georgia fans. At least the most vocal Georgia fans out there seem to think that he's doing. I think he's on a good track.
He's played really well. He just doesn't. It's like he just doesn't have. It's almost like a baseball player getting off to a slow start, where it's like you're hitting, like you're squaring up, like every other at bat, but like you're just not. They're not falling, and like he's had a really good year so far. I feel like from like a completion percentage standpoint, from like the yards per attempt, like his passer rating is great, all that kind of stuff. He's like in the top 5 in the SEC in most of those things. He just doesn't have a bunch of touchdowns. It doesn't have and it's just not as explosive. This is going to shock you. It's not as explosive as having a second-year starter with the greatest offensive coordinator in history, like you said, and like losing that. So I think what you said is pretty spot on.
But you know what else he doesn't have is a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
And if you're playing for Kirby Smart, that's going to keep you the job 9 times out of 10.
Completely agree. I mean, like he's been really steady, I feel like, for the most part. And he's had a couple turnovers, but none of them are in like bad spots. Like none of them are inside of like his own 20. None of them are like in like Jalen Milroe going into score or anything like that. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I think this is kind of like the steady Eddie thing is probably the best way to describe it. And I still think they make the playoff.
And if there's a year to do that, it's this year, right? Because who else is dynamite right now in college football? More so than everybody else.
Yep.
Washington.
Maybe.
Oh,
Like
Washington's
maybe.
fun.
Yeah. But you're right. Like it's like there's no great teams. There's a lot of really good teams, maybe. But like the floor is closer to the ceiling, it seems like this year in terms of like elite teams, and like there's more people involved.
Yeah. Up until this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think by the end of the year, you'll probably see a couple horses pull away.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of horses and cows and pastures and all that kind of stuff, Georgia goes down to Auburn this weekend.
I love that
It
segue.
is the Deep South's oldest rivalry. It's my favorite rivalry in all of college football. I said it a little bit before you came on here. I love this rivalry so much. It still pisses me off. They're not playing it in November and like the leaves changing, like the Christmas in the air, all that kind of stuff. Like I hate that part. Does this rivalry still mean something to Georgia fans, for one? Because I know they've dominated. They've won 15 of the last 18. What is your favorite part of this rivalry, like going into this weekend, especially?
Does it still mean something? Yeah. I think that the fans that are old enough to remember, like older than me, old enough to remember the things like the water hoses getting turned on them, that kind of thing. We were just talking about this on the Georgia show is, there was almost this vibe around this rivalry where it was like a cousin that you'd see every once in a while. You'd kind of, get them in a headlock and give them a noogie, and then you'd kind of go your separate ways. But everything changed, at least in my lifetime, in that Cam Newton, Nick Fairley game in 2010, when they just absolutely abused Aaron Murray.
Yeah.
And I was actually a student photographer for the Red and Black, the Georgia newspaper, covering that game. And I got a lot of frames of Aaron Murray with blood all over his jersey. And it was kind of, some pretty badass pictures, right? But that night I was like, hey, this thing just ratcheted up a different notch here. This is new. This doesn't feel the same way. This feels like this team doesn't really like us at all. Like there's not even a little bit of respect.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of changed. And then there have been some things since then that I think have irritated Georgia fans. Auburn complains to the league office and gets the game out of November. All the late fall things that you mentioned. Like you could reasonably go to an Auburn Georgia game and have some brown liquor with your breakfast, and it wouldn't make you feel like a bag of crap by lunchtime, because it would be cool outside.
Right.
There was that. And then in 2012 and 2013, they got, when Mizzou and Texas A&M came in, somehow Auburn got back-to-back home games against Georgia. And that's the year the Kick Six happened. That's the year the miracle of Jordan Hare happened. So there are some of these things that just kind of like dominoes happened since 2010, where Auburn is all of a sudden like, hey, we hate y'all. Like, we're not cool anymore, So, does it still mean something? Yeah, I think it does for that reason, even though Georgia's totally dominated. Hugh Freeze was saying that he's approaching this game with love. He's trying to sound like Gary Gaines. He's got all this love in his heart. But no, dude, there's no love here anymore. Sorry. And what was your second part of that question?
I don't even. I'm trying to think. At this point. I'm so thrown off by the love thing that, because that was such a weird. You've been around this job for a long time, and watching press conferences, that was about as weird as it got for me. Because that is not the sense that you have from the fan base.
No, well, I just saw the quote from Hawkinson, who's over at On3 for the Auburn site, but I didn't hear it. I just read it, but it still kind of hit my eyes funny. So what does Georgia think about this game, even though they've dominated? It's a road game. It's Carson Beck's first road game.
Yeah.
The later I've gotten into the week, I've started to feel more and more confident that Georgia's going to cover it. Mm-hmm. Maybe not like blow them out, but maybe even just going away, get a late little score and cover that thing. But this could end up being a game where Georgia gets up and Kirby just says, all right, they're not going to score anymore. So we're not either,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we were going through kind of how bad Auburn has been, especially throwing the ball on offense. Is there a scenario? I don't even see a scenario where Auburn's scoring enough points to possibly win the game. Do you see a scenario where Auburn has any way of putting up 24 to 30 points? That's what you're going to need to beat Georgia in this game, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe they get a defensive score like they got at A&M. If Kirby runs out on the field, though, I think he's getting that tackle. I think he's wrapping up, unlike Jimbo. No, I don't see it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it can't happen. Because it is a rivalry game and weird things happen in there. And but with my analytic statistical brain looking at what the numbers that Thorns put up, and they do have a good rushing attack. I don't know. The thing about Georgia this year is they've had a lot of injuries, but now you've had guys that have gotten enough reps, even if they weren't starters. This is the dangerous thing about Georgia. As long as this isn't a trend all year where your second string, your third string is getting banged up too, now all of a sudden you've gotten guys in some meaningful snaps. Now, the only team you played realistically, South Carolina, but you've gotten a lot of young pups in there that are now like, hey, I know what it feels like to be in a game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this defense is just getting better as the year goes on because they're getting more experienced. So, yeah,
rotates guys
it's
pretty
hard for
well.
me to see Auburn putting up a ton of points. I don't gamble, but yeah, that under looking pretty sexy.
I love it. If you're allowed to, give us a score prediction, and then we'll get you out of here, man. We really appreciate the time. This has been a lot of fun as always. Chop it up with you, and then also, like we could have done a full 20 minutes on you just doing the Coffee Town voice, and I would have just been just as entertained as always. But I mean, yeah, give us a score prediction. Tell everyone where they can find all your stuff because it seems like there's more and more of it, man. And just very happy to see all your success, and we really appreciate you joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you. Let's say Georgia 30, Auburn 13.
Okay, I like that.
And as I mentioned, for the college football side of things, over at dogshq.com, most of my work is on our YouTube channel, though, Dogs HQ YouTube channel. We cut up a lot of stuff over there and on our social media accounts. The other thing I work on is you mentioned Coffee Town. That is basically my love letter to high school football and all the things that make it absurd and weird and fun. And the show that kind of houses that sketch, that comedy is called Go Fight and Win, and it drops every Thursday. I don't know when this airs, but our latest episode will have Booger McFarland on it. He talks about his high school football career, and we have pretty great guests on every week, and they just kind of go down memory lane, and we talk about all the things that made high school football unique for them, and then just kind of take a look at some of the crazy things that are happening in high school football around the country. Some really crazy headlines every week. I mean, it never disappoints. This week, an offensive lineman sent me his video of singing the national anthem and singing Forever Young in the halftime show of his high school football game, just in full pads. So that's just kind of the flavor of the things we talk about. I talk about. It's pretty much just me hosting it, but then when the guests come in, it's pretty fun. We've had Matt Stinch come on there, had Jacob Hester, a lot of SEC flavor, and a lot more of that came from as the high school football season and this fall progresses. So you can find it there. Go Fight Win with Wes Blankenship on all the things, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Invite y'all to check that out. It's pretty fun.
Awesome.
All right, dude. We appreciate it. We'll have to do it again soon. And I don't want to say it, but go Dogs this weekend for sure.
Hey, roll Dogs, right?
There it is. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
That was great. The whole Coffee Town thing is like one of my favorite things. It's so hard to like replicate something like that being that funny for that long. But it's good.
Good. He's hilarious, man. A lot of his stuff has gone really viral too.
Yeah. Okay, back to this game real quick. I know I didn't give a prediction. You said
35-13.
35-13.
He said 30-13.
My question is Auburn gonna be able to score? Because here's what's weird to me is the line is so low, and Vegas must know something. And then the other part is the fact that there's been a bunch of models that people run these models and analytics and whatever. They might not know anything, but there's been a bunch of them from respectable people like Kelly Ford and a couple of these other guys that have run these CFB analytics and whatever, and they're all within one score. A couple of them are by 4 points. So I'm going to go against my gut for once, and see how it works out for me. I think my heart tells me that Georgia's going to roll, and I don't know if Auburn will score a point, but there's just something about going to Jordan-Hare. So I'm going to take Georgia to win, and I'm going to say it's 24-13.
Okay.
No.
Low scoring.
We're going next.
All right, let's go to Florida, Kentucky. Let's see. This is a noon game. Number 22, Florida at Kentucky. The line is down to Kentucky -1.
Yeah, it was a pick 'em, I thought 2 days ago.
Total is 44, so another low total. This game's on ESPN. Kentucky won the last 2 meetings and 3 of the last 5. We all know the other stat from 1987 to 2017. Florida won 31 straight. for me in this game, I haven't seen much from Kentucky's offense this year that I've loved. I was thinking the O'Leary pickup would be better. He's thrown for 9
Yeah.
touchdowns, 5 picks, which is not
Devin
great.
Leary. Mm-mm.
Yeah, Devin Leary. Yeah, I said O'Leary. The running back transfer, Ray Davis, leads the team, 314 rushing yards, but they're facing a Florida defense that is really good overall. I mean, they're top 20 against the run, top 10 against the pass when it comes to defensive success rate. I think Florida could probably run on Kentucky
Mhm.
in this game. And Graham Mertz, I believe, has no turnovers since the Utah game. I know he has no picks. So if he can protect the ball, I like Florida to actually win this game outright. I'm going to go Florida 26, Kentucky 23.
Yeah, here's my thing. I kind of am with you on this, and like I want to pick Kentucky because I think it's a much more fun story. And like I said, I suppose I should have been writing down our picks the whole time and our what do you call it? I want to pick I want to pick Kentucky because I feel like they're 4-0. I love the clip that came out earlier this week. It's an 11 a.m. start, and they asked Mark Stoops. They said, "Are you worried that the fans aren't going to get up for this game?" And he's like, "You telling me?" It's like something along the lines of like, "You don't think these good folks in Kentucky can get up early and start drinking before noon?" Like I loved it. I loved it, and I think the crowd will be pumped because this is a fan base that as much crap as they get for like the basketball stuff, being a basketball school first, like they have gotten into football very, very much over the last like 5 to 8 years under Stoops, and they have it with a chip on their shoulder because they feel like they're constantly disrespected from low hanging fruit jokes, and I totally get it. I would love to see this be a thing where Kentucky comes out and wins. I just haven't seen them piece together a full game, and as bad as that offense has been at times for Florida, I don't trust Devin Leary, who, again, it's not just the 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. It's the fact that he had 5 interceptions against the 130th ranked strength of schedule in the country. Like all the games have been at home. He hasn't and here's another one that's at home. Well, actually, they played at Vandy, but that doesn't count, right? So like you get Florida at home. It's a big game, and I really feel like this Florida team is really starting to gel with Graham Mertz, and he is like playing very, very confidently. And you saw it a little bit with that Tennessee game. I like Florida to win outright. I think the under is the play here, but I'll take Florida 20-17.
Okay.
What was yours again?
Be a big game for Napier. I picked Florida 26-23.
Okay. Where are we going next?
Let's go to the Friday night game. This is an interesting game. Utah, Oregon State. So that is 9 p.m. Friday on FS1. Number 10 Utah at number 19 Oregon State. Oregon State currently a 3-point favorite. Total's 44.5. So another low total. I think that's right for this game. It has the makings of a defensive slugfest.
Yeah.
I think the weather's supposed to be really bad, like rainy.
Fucking course, it's in Corvallis.
Yeah. I just expect that Cam Rising isn't going to play. I'm just going to bet on them like he's not playing until I see him on the field.
So he's medically cleared, right?
No, I didn't know that.
He's medically cleared. Like he's been cleared for 2 weeks. He's been cleared to practice. He's been cleared to do everything for 2 weeks. And everyone thought going into the season that he was because he was progressing well and all that kind of stuff, that he was going to play against Weber State or whoever it was, and then go into the UCLA game because it would make the most sense. And now again with this, like, I mean, Oregon State's favored by 3, and they're a good football team. But I just the Cam Rising thing is just very, very odd to watch.
It is, especially because the Utah offense under Nate Johnson has been bad.
Yeah,
Bad. Real bad.
100th in the country in passing success rate. Oregon State's defense has not been great either. But Utah's defense is really good. I think Oregon State's defense, while not great, can have success against Utah's offense unless Rising plays. Considering the weather, both offenses kind of struggle to run the ball. My official pick for the game would be under the 44.5.
yeah.
But as far as picking a winner, Oregon State, since 2001 at home, is 13-1 straight up and against the spread. Their only loss was last year to USC by 3 points. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take
And they
Utah.
threw 4 interceptions in that game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Oregon State to win this game 24-17.
Okay, well, I mean, listen, I tried to do this a week ago, and I said I was going to ride Oregon State because they were my preseason pick to win the conference. It turns out that might not be a great pick because Washington and Oregon look like world beaters right now. USC is going to be able to put a bazillion points up on everybody. I like what Oregon State's been able to do. DJU, they came storming back last week. They ended up losing by 3 on the road against a very, very underrated Washington State team with that offense. If they don't have Cam Rising, I don't trust Utah's offense enough to go out here and think about this. That first game against Florida, they weren't able to put up 30 points, right? It was a low scoring game. And that's after they got a turnover inside the 15-yard line to start the second half and basically put them away. Like that game was close for the first half. Florida just couldn't do anything, but Utah couldn't either. So going on the road to Corvallis, I think Utah's going to be in for a long day, especially if it's like one of those gross, rainy, typical Oregon type days. I got Oregon State to win too. And I think, like you said, I love the under there. It's 44. I've got Oregon State. I'm going to use the same score as last game, 20-17.
All right. Let's go to this one because I don't think the outcome is in doubt, but number 8, USC at Colorado. This is also a noon game. So 10 local for this game. Colorado plus 21.5. Total 73.5. This game's on Fox.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. local, yeah. It's a 12 p.m. kick Eastern.
Breakfast with the Buffs. Sounds awful.
Oof. Sounds like I don't know what that sounds like, but doesn't sound good. USC leads the nation in scoring offense, 55 points per game. Caleb Williams, just a monster again this year.
Yeah.
1,200 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, no picks, rushed for another 3 touchdowns. Their defense still sucks. They gave up 28 points to Arizona State last week, who's not good.
So bad.
I will say Shedeur Sanders got sacked 7 times last week against Oregon. He's been sacked 22 times on the season. So I think Colorado can get a little right on defense. And I just kind of feel this vibe that I'm getting for these upper tier teams in the Pac-12 is they're going to try to put a number on Dion while they can.
Yeah.
So I've got USC 52, Colorado 24.
See, I don't think that Lincoln Riley is going to do that to them. 52-24?
Yeah.
I don't think that he's going to do that to them. I do think so. The over under in this game is 73, which is a lot. I wonder how the offense looks. Oregon's a better defensive team, obviously, than Colorado
USC.
than USC is, and they get them at home, so that's also good, right? The thing that I think is interesting about this is I name your number for what that offense will do to Colorado.
Right.
Name the number. They could put up 50 plus, and let's not forget, this is a defense that I understand it's a different time, it's a different coach and all that kind of stuff. But a year ago, their last 6 games, they gave up an average of 53 points per game in their last 6 total to close out the 2022 season. So last week, gave up 42, probably could have been a little bit worse. It was like 35-0 at half. Late in the third quarter, we talked about it. They had 479 yards of offense for Oregon, 34 for Colorado. I love Shedeur Sanders being able to put up some points in this game. Like early in the game, I think it could be closer, right? I think the first half line is like 12 and a half or something like that. I think Colorado can cover that, but I don't think they can stay with them for 4 quarters because here's the other thing too. It's again, it's a very rare situation where your best player, who's one of the best players at his position on offense and defense, is out. So it's not just the fact that you have, you know what I mean? Like I think that's like a very, very, we just haven't seen anything like that where like teams have had to overcome that. Like when's the last time we watched a guy go both ways? Well, we're not going to kink shame here, like you always say.
No,
so
we don't kink shame on this podcast.
No, I think USC wins. I will say I think they cover the spread. I think that they win. I'll say 54 to 24. That's almost exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Damn it. 54-20. 54-28.
Okay. 50. Okay. Are they still covering the spread at that point? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I can't do math. I'm an idiot.
All right. Let's go to the 3:30 game here. Number 24, Kansas at number 3 Texas. Texas is a 16.5-point favorite, total 61.5. This game's on ABC. First time the two programs have ever played each other while both ranked. So that's pretty cool.
Crazy.
Kansas has started 4-0 in consecutive seasons for the first time since 1914, 1915.
Classic.
What are your thoughts on this game?
So, I mean, it's funny because I was talking about this morning on radio that, like, I think, and this might sound crazy because it's not like it happened last year, but I think that there's technically a little bit of a revenge factor still into this game. Like this is a game where in the past Texas would probably sleepwalk through it. They looked really good last week against Baylor, 38-6, dominated Baylor on the road. We keep waiting for them to slip up. Maybe they lose to Oklahoma. I don't know, because Oklahoma's they've looked really good, even though they struggled against Cincy. But like,
I think FPI has Oklahoma the number 2 team in the country, which is ridiculous.
They do, yeah. But it's been really interesting to see. Well, but also, and like you've seen it from like an offensive and defensive like efficiency standpoint, like on 24/7 Sports put that out there. I think they were ranked first in the country in that too, like overall.
That game's next weekend.
I know, that's gonna be fun.
Texas.
That's gonna be fun. God, that's gonna be I hope that's a noon game because that means it'll be Oklahoma, Texas, Bama,
It usually is, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that like when you look at the stuff that Texas has been able to do like this season, the defense is not getting enough credit. The defense has played really, really well. Quinn Ewers has been awesome. He hasn't forced anything. I don't think Jalen Daniels is healthy still. And Kansas has been really fun, but it's the same thing they did last year where it's like they've been really fun at home. So how do they look on the road? I'm not saying it's a revenge game for Texas because they lost last year or whatever, but it's one of those games where like you can tell this team that they can't afford to sleepwalk because they can't. And
2
like
years ago, this game was like 55-53 or something like that overtime.
Yeah. And they lost at home to Kansas because a walk-on quarterback caught like a touchdown pass in double overtime, whatever. Yeah, so I think Texas wins. I will say I will not take them to cover, but I think Texas wins, and I'll say it's 34-23.
All right, I think Texas might be the most well-rounded team in the country when it comes to offense and defense.
Ooh.
Yeah, their defense is really good. Number 3 in overall defensive success rate. Kansas is horrible at stopping the pass. They're bad. So I think you're going to see a big day for Xavier Worthy, Quinn Ewers. Last week, I was on BYU plus 8.5 against Kansas. Kansas got 2 defensive TDs and won by 11. So I feel like I should have won that bet. And I feel like Kansas.
That's that whole sentence.
I
feel like I should have won that bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Texas won this game last year 55-14. Texas is a better team this year than they were last year.
Yeah.
I got Texas rolling in this one 42-20.
Okay. I like that. Do you want to dip in here to the SEC real quick and just I was gonna say let's get it out of the way.
Yeah, number 23 Missouri at Vanderbilt.
Wait, hold on. What was your points for Texas again?
42-20.
All right, got you. Sorry.
Number 23 Missouri at Vandy plus 13.5 for Vandy, total 54.5. This game is at 4 p.m. on the SEC network. For me, this is all about Missouri being in a flat spot. You're in a dead environment at Vandy. You've started the season with some pretty great wins because keep in mind their 3 wins over FBS opponents have come by a combined 14 points. So they've had some exhilarating wins. They got LSU on deck at home.
Yeah.
Missouri's been good at protecting the ball this year. They only have 2 total turnovers. They're playing good defense. I don't expect them to lose this game, but I just feel that they're going to kind of sleepwalk through this one. So It's just a gut feeling. Vandy covers this one, maybe score more than they should. 35-24 Missouri.
35-24 Missouri. All right. So I do like the over in this because Mizzou has given up a lot of points. And it's weird, too, because like that defense was considered like it was going to be like the strong part of that unit. They returned like 8 to 9 starters from last year, however you want to look at it. Brady Cook. This is the only reason I even want to do this. Brady Cook and Luther Vandross. I'm kidding. Luther Burden. Both of those guys deserve a shout out, and I feel like they're not getting nearly enough love. Luther Burden has been awesome.
Dude, he's probably the best receiver in the country, I think.
Well, he's the most underrated and not talked about receiver in the country for sure.
Yeah.
And Brady Cook is coming to a season where going into the year, we've said it on here and we heard about it nonstop. And like the question I was asking about Mizzou before the season started was, are they going to start Sam Horn because he's probably the long-term guy that's going to win you the most games and not Brady Cook? Or are they going to try to salvage one, maybe two extra wins under Brady Cook this year just so they can win because Drink needs to win the games? Brady Cook's been awesome. I had him this week in our Saturday Down South. Sorry, official rankings of quarterbacks for Saturday Down South. And I say that because there's apparently an official rankings on the website, which we're not allowed to.
Those are not yours.
No, they're not. That
Yeah.
guy, he knows quarterbacks and numbers. And that's frankly something
That's something
like,
you need to have.
people always
be
say
honest.
everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And I think sometimes at this job, it's very clear I'm not allowed to. And I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair and not an overreaction at all from the editor on the website. And that's fine. We can talk about it. I mean, he's not going to listen to the podcast anyway, so I don't fucking care. Anyway,
What's your pick for this game?
Mizzou going to Vandy, very sleepy game. Very, very sleepy game. That stadium's going to be so empty. Mizzou fans aren't going to travel for this. I think they win. I don't think they cover. This is such a perfect letdown spot always for Mizzou. So I think Mizzou wins 31-21.
Okay. Let's stay in the SEC here. A&M and Arkansas. Let me get to the notes here. By the way, we're missing a graphic. LSU Ole Miss.
For who? LSU Ole Miss?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. You keep
I'll
talking.
check that down. This is a noon game as well. A&M and Arkansas plus 6.5 is the line for Arkansas. Total 53.5. This game's on the SEC network. Played in AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. This is a rivalry that started in 1903.
That's crazy.
Arkansas leads the all-time series 42, 34, 3, and 3, but Texas A&M has won 10 of 11 since coming over to the SEC. This is the first time since 2018 that neither school was ranked in the matchup. How do you feel about this game? The Connor Wegman news is a bummer for A&M for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I like Max Johnson, but not as much as Wegman.
No, I want to say that this is a game where it's like it feels like it's always close. It feels like something crazy always happens, right? And I feel like you saw it last week when we thought that Arkansas was going to get blown out, and they're what in the hell? They were a 17. What is happening with this? This is not the one I used, right? They were a 17.5 point underdog when it came to the game against LSU, and they were winning at halftime. They were up 13-3 late in like under 2 minutes to go in the first half, and they just found a way to blow it. So are they able to go to Arlington and like, because this is like a very important game for their season. Like anything they want to have still on the table, they've got to have. And you kind of get A&M in a spot where they might be a little bit vulnerable just because of the fact that you're without your quarterback that's been kind of a star so far this week for you, or been like besides Stewart, the best part of that offense. I think Max Johnson is a good quarterback. I don't know what he's able to do for 60 straight minutes. He was the quarterback in this game last year, I believe.
I can't remember.
Yeah, you can't remember anything.
No.
But I think that I want this is like a game where I want to say Arkansas is able to do something. But I tell you what, man, the weakest part of that Arkansas team is their offensive line, which is crazy to say because of like that's what Pittman's whole thing is coaching the offensive line and recruiting, and they're just not very good in the offensive line. So that being said, I think if I had to say who's going to win, when you talk about like the matchup they're going to have to be facing most is the what do you call it? The A&M defensive line versus that Arkansas offensive line. I think they're going to wreak havoc, and I think they're going to put KJ Jefferson under pressure all day. I think that A&M wins. I think they win by 10 plus points. I will say A&M 28, Arkansas 17.
Exactly 10 points.
No, it's 11.
Oh, and you said I think they win by 10.
No.
Yeah, A&M gets Noah Thomas back at wide receiver. He has 4 touchdowns on the season, so that's good for them. Arkansas's blown 2 10-point leads the last 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I think they put a lot in that game last week, and typically, well, I'm trying to take the desperate head coach, and Arkansas is desperate for a win here.
Yeah.
I just think that Arkansas probably put a ton into that game, came up just short. Can you get back up for a game like this? Probably, but I just think A&M has too much talent. Late touchdown covers, A&M 31, Arkansas 23.
Okay. Like it. How many more we got?
We have this game and the Duke game.
That's what a sentence.
I know, right? We're saving the big Duke game for last.
We're saving a Duke home football game for last. And I'm
Or
going to say
college game
something
day.
during that. Yeah, college game day's there for the first time ever. I'm going to say something that I fully believe. I said it to you already off air, and I'm going to say it when we talk about that. I'll save it for the finale though. But let's talk Ole Miss LSU.
All right, number 13 LSU at number 20 Ole Miss. Ole Miss currently a 2.5-point dog. 67.5 is the total. This game's at 6 p.m. on ESPN. To me, this is a battle of what has been a lackluster offense for Ole Miss, what we've come to expect from them, versus a lackluster defense for LSU. Hasn't exactly looked as good as we thought they would. Which one breaks through in this game? Which one do you have more confidence in?
You asking me?
Yeah, because LSU, I think, is going to score. They're going to put up 30 plus. So do you think LSU's defense steps up and looks better than they have, or do you think Ole Miss's offense steps up?
I think Ole Miss's offense is more likely to step up just because of the fact that they're going to be at home, and LSU's defense is bad. Like, it's been bad, and they're bad at the spot where Ole Miss can attack, because we all thought that Quinshon Judkins was going to be the one that was going to be like the catalyst for this offense, and maybe he still will be. I know he was kind of banged up and I haven't used him that much. Ole Miss leads the SEC in explosive plays, total explosive plays of 20 plus yards or more, and they have 34 total. Do you want to take a guess at how many of those are running plays versus passing plays?
Almost all of them passing.
33 were passing, and only one is running. So I think that they will be able to break out. You keep breaking it down because I'm adding something up.
I think I trust the unit that I trust most here is the LSU offense. I trust Jaden Daniels. He's been really good this year. I love their receivers. And I just think Ole Miss's offense is missing something. And really what it is Quinshon Judkins has been basically a ghost this year. I don't know what happened to him. So because of that, I still think it'll be a tight game, but I got LSU 33, Ole Miss 30. And I think at some point in the game, Harold Perkins makes a big play to change it in favor of LSU.
Okay. I like that. Give me a stat. This is what I'm most interested to see. I talked about this on Sunday, and that is, or on the Monday episode. There's Lane Kiffin. I don't think the program has hit its ceiling, but I do wonder if Lane Kiffin's maturity as a head coach has hit its ceiling, because what we saw last week, and honestly, man, I've been asked about it a decent amount. Like, I think it's just like a Bama guy, and I was asked about it on Feinbaum and all that kind of shit. But like, I have not seen that many people in the local Ole Miss media call him out and say, hey, do you think, looking back on it, it was a good idea to just poke the bear all week, just nonstop all week? Because it didn't seem like it was like really necessary. And it also didn't work out in your favor at the end. So why'd you do it? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I wonder what they look like getting off the mat. Since he's been there in regular season losses, Ole Miss is 6-5 coming off of a loss. 6-5, right? They ended last year with 4 straight losses, including, let's see here, the bowl game, obviously Texas Tech. But those 6 wins, right? The 6 wins, 2 of them were by 1 point. One of them was by 3 points against A&M last year, who was 5-7. And then one was against Vandy, and the other was against Liberty. I don't trust Lane Kiffin to stop the bleeding at all. I think LSU goes in there and handles their business, because I think what you see on both sides of the ball is like, how does Ole Miss look from a desperate standpoint? Because I don't think it's a desperate team necessarily, but I think Kiffin probably feels a little bit of pressure because he knows that what he did last week can't happen, and he's got a little bit of egg on his face, and whatever you want to say, like he's a little bit probably embarrassed because he is a prideful coach, and and there's a little bit of arrogance in there. I think that what worries me about him is his inability to gauge the situation of, all right, we have our backs against the wall. We need to win this game. That doesn't mean that you need to go for it every fourth down. Like a must-win situation doesn't mean you need to go for it on 4th and 2 from your own 34 in the first half. Sometimes that means even at midfield, punt them deep. See if the defense will go, or that our offense will go the entire length of the field. And this offense is really good and probably capable of doing that. But like, I wonder what he looks like, because I want to say under pressure because I think he is under pressure. I think that on the other sideline, Brian Kelly is in a totally different area of like where he's currently at with his team versus Ole Miss. I think LSU wins. I think they win big. I got LSU by 10. I think the over. I would definitely smash the over. I think it's like 67. It keeps going up from like 63. I would take LSU 38. Ole Miss 28. Is that over? That's not the over. God, so
maybe a little preparation could have done well for that.
Okay, well, I did prep on everything else. I just didn't do the scores. What was your score?
33-30 LSU.
Preparation. I'll do that.
7:30 p.m. Number 11 Notre Dame.
Look at these graphics. First off, I'm talking about preparation, dickhead.
Yeah.
Also, we're doing this strictly on like Spotify and Apple right now, so people can't even see the graphics. It's a waste of time.
We're not putting this on YouTube?
No, I am.
Okay. Number 11 Notre Dame at number 17 Duke. Duke currently a 6-point underdog. Total 52. This game's on ABC. I feel great about spot Duke's in right now.
Me too.
Notre Dame's coming off a heartbreaker. Duke just casually went on the road and beat UConn 47-0.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Elko, head coach of Duke, who I'm going to call it now. He's going to be the next head coach at Michigan State. Should be familiar with Hartman coming from the ACC. Last time these two quarterbacks, Riley Leonard doesn't get enough love nationally. Dude is a beast.
Yeah.
As a Florida State fan, I'm quite concerned about him.
Yeah.
Last time these two QBs faced off, Riley Leonard actually threw for 391 yards and Hartman was like 350, and Duke beat Wake. I think Riley Leonard's better than Kyle McCord, and I just think I love Duke here to cover. I mean, I don't know if I can take them. I may take them a money line. I don't know. I'm not going to predict them to win. I got Notre Dame 28, Duke 24.
Okay.
But I may sprinkle a little Duke money line this weekend.
I think you should sprinkle the blank out of it, because I think that Riley Leonard is one of the better quarterbacks in the country that we're not talking about. And it's hard to take this seriously because it's Duke. Let's just call it what it is. It's Duke, right? Yep. It's so bizarre that Duke, Notre Dame, they're going to have game day there. But I tell you what, man, Notre Dame is coming off a soul-sucking loss. I mean, a soul-sucking loss. Like, that is about as bad as it can get. And you were like, you didn't lead the whole game, but it kind of felt like you were in contention or were leading for what seemed like for most of when it counted. Yeah, I mean, you had the ball with 4 minutes to go, and I remember they panned over to Sam Hartman, and they had just gotten a first down. It's like, man, you've got one of the best running backs in the country with Estime, and he's averaging over 10 yards per carry in the fourth quarter, all that kind of stuff. Is Notre Dame good enough to get off the mat? It seems to be a theme this week. Get off the mat, and then go down to Durham and impose their will against what should be a Duke team that shouldn't be as deep as you, as talented as you, or anywhere close to being on the same field as you. However, as of today, as of last week, how about that? I think Duke could beat Alabama. I really do. I think that Riley Leonard is a really good quarterback, and they are able to put up a ton of points. They've only given up more than 7 points in one game. It's a Northwestern, and they put up, I think it was like 40-something in that game as well.
And they've played Clemson.
What?
And they've played Clemson already this year.
Oh, 3 of their 4 wins are like it's at UConn, which is a bowl team last year. Northwestern, who I understand Northwestern sucks, but it's a Power 5 team. They beat them by
Who did
24.
Northwestern beat this week?
I don't remember. Oh, they
They
beat
beat-
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
again, hey, like you're a Florida State guy.
Dude,
You saw how
terrified of that
difficult it is to
game.
beat Clemson. Like you saw how difficult it is to beat Clemson.
No, I'm terrified of that Florida State Duke game. If it was on the road at Duke, I would be not thrilled. I mean, I
Those
still
are
think it's
crazy
gonna be
things.
yeah. It's crazy, man. Duke's for real.
Duke beat Clemson by 21, beat Northwestern by 24, and they beat UConn by 34. You beat Lafayette by 35. So Notre Dame coming in there. Do you know what happened last time? Notre Dame came off a devastating loss where they had a lead against Ohio State and then lost.
No.
They lost to Marshall the very next week. Yeah. So how does this team bounce back? I don't think they do. I think Duke wins, and I think it's going to be an awesome scene in Durham. I mean, I'm talking about 33,000
Books everywhere.
fucking future Ernst & Young interns just losing their fucking minds. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But again, I think Riley Leonard, that left tackle they have is a projected first-round pick, and Mike Elko's a good coach. 4 years as DC over at A&M under Jimbo. He was great there. He won 9 games.
Well, where was he? Notre Dame.
Yeah. I think that Duke is a much better football team than people give them credit for. And I'm not even taking anything away from Notre Dame because they probably should have won that game a week ago, but they didn't. And I think it's hard to recover if you're trying to get focused for a full week. You got to go on the road. It's not going to be a crazy environment. Are they going to be able to like rally the troops and like, have like become like more of a team and all that kind of unity and shit like that? It happens on the road. I like Riley Leonard, man. I like Riley Leonard. I like Duke to win. So I got Duke winning. I'll say 31-28.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a great show, man. That's the end of the show. As always, we really appreciate you guys listening to the show. We really do. The numbers are great. Share with your friends. Continue to do so. It would help us if you would rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify. Leave a review. We read the best ones on air, as we did this past week. Like and subscribe.
We have a
to
new
our
segment
YouTube channel.
coming.
New segment. Yes, we do. Angry fans.
Yeah.
Gonna
It's
be
like,
fun.
Instead of OnlyFans, it's Angry Fans. So instead of like feet pics, it's defeat pics. More.
I love
audio.
that.
Yeah.
We can keep going with those puns, dude. You're the best at
I'm
puns.
so good at it. Thank you.
And in order for you to be featured on Angry Fans, leave us a message. 770-674-8233. So if you're a Notre Dame fan and you lose to Duke this weekend, you may want to call in with a little grumpy attitude. Don't forget to check out the SDS podcast weekly with Connor O'Gara. And you can find the clips from the show on Twitter at SatDownSouth, Instagram and TikTok at Saturday Down South, on YouTube, Saturday Down South. For Chris, I'm Tyler. Good luck to your teams. Call us on the hotline. We'll talk to you next week.